Hello, my name is Tiandra Hamilton, and I have chosen for this project to explain the DNA structure. Please forgive me, I got my notes over here, so I'll be kind of reading my notes just so I don't lose my place. So, just in order for us to understand how the DNA structure works, we need to understand a few things. What is DNA? DNA is basically the coding that takes place somewhere within your body. I'll explain that. And it basically determines the characteristics that you're going to have. These are the characteristics that are passed down from your mother and your father. So, DNA. The D is the deoxyribo, which is sugar. The N is for the nucleic, and the A is for acid. So the deoxyribonucleic acid is what DNA is. This particular DNA, the DNA can actually be found inside of the nucleus. It can be found inside the nucleus of the prokaryotic and eukaryotic part of a cell. Okay? So, let's get into a deeper thing about this. So I just explained to you where you can find the coding at and the DNA at. So let's go ahead and just break it down for you a little bit more. So, inside of the periodic and the eukaryotic, you find these things called the nucleotides. So in the nucleotides, you will find a phosphate has three broken down areas. You're going to have a phosphate group. That's one. The second one, you're going to find your sugars. And the third part, you're going to find your nitrogen base. And then the nitrogen base is where a lot of the next part is very important. Because in the nitrogen base, you're going to find your purines and your pyrimides. Purines and pyrimides. So the purines are your thymine and your adenine. And these two are going to always be linked up, those purines. And then your pyrimidines are going to be your cytosine and your guanine. Sounds like a place in Africa, but those are your purines and your pyrimidines. The thymine, adenine, then your cytosine and your guanine. Those are these are all the different areas of what breaks down the DNA, so you can find out the structure. So remember all these things. Now I'm going to draw an illustration to show you how this all takes place. If you ever see someone talking about DNA, you usually see them, it looks like a structure that looks like this. It's like a strand that is made up of the DNA coding. It usually looks something like this, like a spiral strand. Excuse my my illustration, but that's as good as it's gonna get today. So, with that being said, remember all of the things that we spoke about. The nucleotides, the phosphate group, the sugar, the nitrogen base, your thymine, your purines, purines, pyrimidines, which are the thymine and adenine, the cytosine and the guanine. So this is how it looks when you break it down into how the structure of it works. There were 4 scientists that are credited to coming up with this structure and actually explaining it to people. So this is how the DNA structure works. So on the outside, what you see these 2 walls, this is called the backbone. Alongside the backbone, you have your phosphate, and in between those, I'm not an artist, so hey, bear with me. So like I said, in between the phosphates, you have your deoxyribose, which is the sugar. Those are the sugars. And remember what we talked about, the pyrimidines and the thymines, those are going to be found on the inside. But remember how I told you how you have your AT and your CG, which is your thymine and adenine, and your cytosine and your guanine. Those are going to be how they pair up. It gets a little bit more complex. Just for the sake of time, I'm not going to go deeply into detail. But this is really how you get your DNA structure. And like I said, it gets more complex. You'll be able to tell which one's the AT and the CG. And you'll see it's based on, when you get a closer look into it, it's based on single strands and multiple strands of how they're compared on the inside. But there you have it in a nutshell. That is basically the DNA structure. If I left anything out, please feel free to inbox me, because I do have a little bit more detail. But just for the sake of trying to explain it to someone who doesn't understand, this is the best way to do so. So thank you.